councillor, Michael Garland, independent candidate, Lee Walsh, independent candidate, and Pat Fitzgerald, sitting Sinn Fein councillor. Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning.
How are you all getting on? You well? Good. Thanks very much for coming in. This is part of our extensive local elections debates regarding candidates across the city and across the county, and we're focusing this morning on Waterford City East area, and these four gentlemen are running for seats in the Waterford City East area. I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, 1 minute, Michael Garland, why should people vote for you?
I think you should vote for Michael Garland because we need change, we need good, passionate councillors, and I decided only to run on the 12th and 13th of April. I put my hand up because I believe I can make a difference, and all the big ticket items that are given, such as the hospital, airport, etc. And I think, certainly from knocking on doors, I get the impression people are looking for people who are passionate about the city and are prepared to work for the city, and I think, if I'm judging it right, they're looking for independents to actually stand for them and do that themselves.
Speaking of an independent, Lee Walsh, why should people vote for you?
Thanks, Damien. I feel like I can give new energy to Waterford City and County Council. I want to be representative for the coastal communities. Our fishing industry has been devastated over the last 40 years. Over 200 billion euros worth of fish has been taken from our water since 1973. That's greater than our national debt, which will never be able to pay off. So that just goes to show you the value of our stocks. We can build our whole economy around our fishing industry if only we had some imagination. Our salmon fishermen were banned from fishing about 13 years ago. They were told they were allowed to come back when the stocks were replenished. Now, 13 years later, they're still not allowed to fish. So we have to ask the question, have the stocks come back or not? And if they've not come back, why have they not come back? It's obviously nothing to do with the salmon fishermen themselves.
Pat Fitzgerald, Sinn Fein, why should people vote for you?
Well, I wouldn't demand a vote of anybody, but what I would do is I don't actually make promises, and because I believe a lot of promises are made during election time and they can't actually be kept. But I have a track record in the council. I've been there for 10 years. I've done the best I could. I've had quite a lot of success. I expect, not bragging or anything like that, but I've done all right at the council, and I work hard at it. And I would ask people to judge me on my track record.
Adam Wyse,
Yeah, similar to Pat as well. I've been there for 5.5 years, not so long as Pat. But I think what people want about voters, what I'm getting on the door is, like Michael Garland said, they want change, they want new ideas. But I think as well you need a mixture of experience. I'm fortunate enough to be 24 years old. I have new ideas. I'm raising issues every month in meetings that other councils aren't raising, and I still have that experience as well. I know how it works. I've a great relationship with a lot of the other councillors. I've good relationships with a lot of the other candidates, and I'd like to think I've been kind of a common sense voice, and I've been honest, and I've worked hard for my community, and I've tried to make that small impact, and I'm looking for people's support so that I can continue to do that over the next 5 years.
Thank you, gentlemen. Michael Garland, Lee, independents. Independents don't really make a difference, some people would say.
No, they do, and people are looking for independence to make a difference because they don't have the weight of a political party behind them, and what an independent can do, they can be a voice and a meaningful voice that's prepared to work with others without the influence of party politics. And you need strong independence in the council to bring that sense of fairness across the board. They can represent.
Can political parties not represent fairness?
Well, they can, but they also have a duty to the party. And if you look at an independent, a true independent is somebody who has never been affiliated to a party or never been a member of a political party.
Were you ever a member of a political party?
No, I certainly am not.
Okay.
And I never will be. Put it that way.
Lee Walsh,
Yes.
independents. You have minimal power.
No, I disagree. I mean, we have complete freedom to represent. If I'm elected, I'll be there to do the bidding of the people that live in my area. I'm not there to do the bidding of any political party. So we have freedom to say whatever we want. We're not worried about what the party is saying, and the party doesn't have to worry about what we're saying.
What have you got to say to that, gentlemen?
Well, Fianna Fáil, we have the largest number of elected councillors on Waterford Council. We've led the council over the last 5 years in agreement with other councils as well, looking for support on issues. We have been able to pass issues where all 32 councils have supported it. There are other ones where you have the argument, you tease out things, but look, I've had good support from the other 8 elected council reps. For me, outside of different areas, we have councillors in every electoral area, so we've been able to cover a lot of the issues, and we represent the same people the lads do as independents, and that's what we're looking to keep on doing.
Pat, I'll come back to you in a second. You've been the largest party in the council for the last 5 years, and yet look at the city centre, look at the way things are.
There's huge challenges there as well. Like, you know, we've been the ones that have been responsible. We've come up with every year we have to pass a budget. One of the main functions of a city and county council is to actually balance the books of the budget. We haven't shied away from it. We haven't sat on the fence from it. We've always gone in and we spoke to the executive, spoke to the city manager, and we've ended up balancing the books. We've made tough decisions, sometimes ones that we don't want to make, but again, that's the responsibility of an elected rep, is to represent people, is to make the best of the city and county, and we'll work towards it. We've been, you know, proactive in keeping rates down. We've been proactive in bringing in things like the North Quay so that we can start having competition in the city centre, so that we can see more vibrancy there.
Okay, Pat, Fianna Fáil have done a good job on this.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Like, really, when we're dealing with home improvement grants or anything like that for the elderly, we're now working on the 2014 applications, even though this is 2019. And if you're looking for a bathroom improvement for an elderly person, 5 years is a long time in the life of an elderly person, you know, and like, that's why we voted for 1 or 2 budgets, I think, and we voted against budgets, but like, we have to have a fairer distribution of the funds going towards the ordinary people.
George lives in the city centre. He's phoned in. He's looking straight at the North Quays. Not one politician is knocking his door to ask if he's in favour of the North Quays project, how it will impact on people living in the city centre. Is there a disconnect between you and ordinary people out there?
No, absolutely not. I've knocked
Michael
on
Garland?
1,500 doors since last Wednesday, and
How could you do that?
because
I've
I
knocked
jog,
on about 6,000
jog between the houses. I'm actually using it to keep myself fit, and I have to say, the reaction is astonishing. I've never been this side of a door before, and the engagement with people it's very humbling. I have to say that, and what we're trying to do, and what an independent's trying to do, and particularly me with no posters, is looking people straight in the eye and asking them for a vote, which is very precious, and asking them to believe I can deliver.
Adam, you're looking them straight in the eye. You don't believe Michael Garland?
No, I didn't say that. I said I was just laughing at the jogging between doors comment. It would keep you fit. I said it's a big area. There's about 7,989 houses on the list at the last thing. But you asked about the North Quays. I think people want to see progression on it. I think they need to see something. I think having Rob Cass, who's heavily involved, I have a good relationship with Rob myself, is important so that people see what's going on there. It's going to be a massive game changer. It's something that 100% needs to happen. And I'm getting on the doors as well. People are asking me, when is it going to happen? One thing I would say as well, like, we need to be accountable for this. Every councillor has supported this. The Waterford City and County Council has spent in the region of 4 or 5 million already on this project. And councils have gone in and voted for budgets or voted for plans. 32 councils supported that plan. Councils need to be held accountable. If this doesn't come off, or if it's a failure of the next council, whoever is elected there, whoever's involved in it, if it doesn't come off, people need to be held accountable for it.
Lee, what would you do to hold people accountable? Like, are they not doing a good job, the lads that are there at the minute?
Well, I don't think so. That's why I'm running myself. I mean,
Pat has been talking about fishing for years.
Yeah.
You're trying to steal his thunder.
No, not at all. Like, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about fishing for years, but some of them have been on the council since the British were here. And I think like that we're talking about. I think the North Quays is a great idea as well. Like, I mean, any idea is a good idea, but we have to look at the city centre that we have already, and that's dying a death in there.
Have you people
there's 13 charity shops in the middle of town, and people are not going to come to the city centre to see charity shops.
That's why we
need to have a conversation.
That's why we
the rates,
need the North Quays.
There's companies closing because of the rates, so we need to review the whole thing.
Have you a problem with people coming into this country? For example, you said at a meeting down in Lismore, or did you say it, we don't want to become a minority in our own country? Have you a problem?
Nobody wants to become a minority in their own country. Does anybody here want to become a minority in their own country?
Well, have you a problem with people coming into the country?
Of course not, no. Of course not.
So why would you make that comment? This is about asylum seekers coming into Lismore, was it?
No, you see, okay, so I've been, part of my campaign is that I've been saying that we should have a conversation about immigration, that too much immigration puts an unmanageable burden on our health system, on housing, etc. That's it. My wife is an immigrant, by the way, so that's...
Pat, what have you got to say to that?
About
what he's raised there?
The immigrants. Well, look, I don't have any problem with immigrants really, and I think.
Neither do I, of course.
No, I don't.
Gentlemen?
I'm you can tell by the accent, some people think I'm straight, but I'm...
It's a cheap point accent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ballybrick.
Remember yourself.
Ballygunner. But I'm very proud to be here. I call this my second home. I'm a passionate man. And all those big ticket items, the people on the door, they are given the North Quays and everything. But what people locally are wanting in terms of people to represent them, they want somebody that they can in 5 years' time hold accountable.
Okay.
That they have been given a precious vote and they've worked for those.
You've answered the
That's
question
what
I
people
asked.
want.
I've
That's what
asked the
people
question
want.
and you're diverting away.
We have
Adam.
a responsibility as a European country to help people in need. If there's other people from other countries that, whether it's war, whether it's, depression, etc., we have a responsibility as a European country. Europe has been very good to Ireland.
And what do you think of the likes of Lee raising questions
sorry,
like
but
this?
there's a distinction between asylum seekers and immigrants, okay? And with asylum seekers, if their asylum application is valid, we should look after them temporarily until the situation and the conflict in their own country is over. That's fine.
Well, we had two in yesterday. They're involved in running the sanctuary runners and all that. They'd love to stay here in Ireland.
Yeah.
Would you have a problem with them staying in Ireland?
Well, I think every case.
If their asylum process is valid and they're allowed to stay here, would you like them to stay here?
Well, there's a distinction between an asylum seeker and an immigrant.
Yeah. Well, these guys. There was a lady here yesterday and a man, and they're asylum seekers.
Yeah. Okay. So
if their asylum process is actually agreed and they're allowed to stay here in this country,
I suppose at that point they would become immigrants. Then they wouldn't be.
So, what are you saying?
Seekers.
Send them back.
Well, I think every case needs to be looked at individually, and I don't know anything about these people. I wasn't listening to.
Okay, I know, yeah, but like you just said that once their asylum process, then they should.
I'm here to represent the people that live in my area, and people telling me on the door is that they feel like they're being discriminated against in their own countries. They feel like Irish people are being treated like second-class citizens when it comes to housing allocation, and that's just not right.
Gentlemen,
that's what I'm being told.
We're going to ask you this specific question about housing now. The main ticket items in this constituency just after our special election debate on Waterford City East. We're talking to Adam Wyse, sitting Fianna Fáil councillor, Michael Garland, independent councillor, Pat Fitzgerald, Sinn Féin councillor, and Walsh, independent candidate. A couple of texts coming in. I respect everyone's opinion. I'm hugely interested in the gentleman. Are you pro-choice? During the last referendum, I was shocked by how many men were pro-life. To me, I want people voted in who put women's lives and healthcare first. Pat Fitzgerald.
Well, I'm pro-life, and I always was pro-life, and I'm also a practicing Roman Catholic. So, I don't really have, if I intend to keep practicing my religion, I'm pro-life. I was pro-life naturally anyway, and I don't think I'll ever change my mind on that.
Lee Walsh.
Yes, I'm pro-life. Yeah, and I realise most people disagree with me on that, but I think. If I do get elected, what I'd like to do is there's nothing in Waterford for women who are in a crisis pregnancy that want to keep their babies. We had a homeless woman last year. She was 8 months pregnant, and she ended up sleeping on a man's couch for 8 months before she had the baby, and until the baby was about 3 or 4 months old. So people are talking about choice. Let's give women a real choice as well.
Adam.
Very simple. I'm pro-choice. Proud to be.
Michael.
I didn't get a vote in it, but it's certainly not a politician's right or any man's right to tell a woman what to do with her body. Exactly. And I certainly would not be telling my 22-year-old daughter what to do with her body. And politicians should stay out of the argument because it's a family. The family have to look after women who have that choice to make. It's not politicians. Stay out of the argument, guys. It's nothing to do with you.
051 846 123 is not working at the moment. If you want to ring in, 051 872248. Gentlemen, it's none of your business. Stay out of it, says Michael Garland.
Well, I believe that the ending of a human life is.
Don't tell anyone else. Force it on anyone else.
I didn't interrupt you. No, I didn't.
Not up to you to do that.
No, I didn't interrupt.
The debate is over, effectively, isn't it?
The debate is over.
You lost.
But,
obviously not.
Yeah. Well, we didn't lose. I believe.
Well, the people spoke.
The people spoke, and that's what the people wanted. But now we're in a situation
where
we're actually forcing the medical profession to carry out abortions, in some cases against their will, and that is not the proper way to proceed.
Lee, you didn't lose, and yet the people spoke.
Well, it's not about winning. It's not about winning or losing.
The referendum.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
was lost by the pro-life.
The referendum was lost. Yes.
Yeah.
The Eighth Amendment was removed from the Constitution. Yes.
But you know what? Like a lot of people as well have said to me that even though they disagree with me on that, they're going to vote for me anyway because they respect that I have strong beliefs. And the fishing community, for example, wants somebody like me who's going to fight for them.
Adam?
Damien, can I just say that Councillor Fitzgerald said there that in some cases you're forcing medical professionals to carry out things against their will. Look, you get into that profession because you have a job to do, the same way we have jobs to do as politicians. Michael, I agree with you as well. We probably shouldn't talk about it too much. It probably is none of our business. We only have one vote the same way as anyone else. But forcing women to get on a plane and leave the country and have to actually get an abortion somewhere where they feel uncomfortable, somewhere where they're not used to, where they can't speak to their GP, that's a way worse situation to be putting people into than putting doctors into a position where they have to carry out a medical practice which they are trained to do.
We only have a little.
I believe that, look, there was nobody forced onto a plane. because like abortion was pretty liberal in this country before the 8th Amendment was removed.
You don't think that anybody left this
You're
country to get
engaging
an
with the wrong
abortion?
people if that's what you think.
There is people that leave this country before this was legal, before the
You
referendum
can still
was
see that
won
this is
by
a
the
very hot
repeal the
topic, you
side
know,
path.
and
And it's great
and-
to have everyone to have different
But everybody is
opinions.
entitled to
You
their own
can't force
opinion,
your opinion
and
on
that's the way it
your
is, like,
rules.
Okay, we've limited time. That is a topic that has been discussed ad nauseum. It still is a
Yes.
topic, as you say, and there was obviously the photograph before all that sort of stuff. People are probably still bringing it up and talking about it. Lee is talking about it.
I thought it was unfortunate for me, for Eddie Mulligan, who's another councillor who's pro-choice, and I won't speak for him, but the opinion went out there, and I'm getting on the doors that Waterford councillors were in that photo. I was not in that photo, and I was proud to not be in that photo. And I was.
And those that
disgusted
were
by
in
the
it
photo.
said they had no problem with it. And
But
Pat,
the
you
way that
would
it
say
was,
that.
but the way that it was reported, was
okay.
Waterford councillors opposed.
Let me move on. We've got it because I want to talk
wrong.
about some other important issues. Susan has texted in, very disappointed to hear about the comments from Lee about immigration. The Irish and people emigrated all over the world. As an Irish person, I'm not
They
happy
didn't get everything. Nobody had housing when
With
they
the
moved to
narrative
America. They had to pay their own way.
that immigrants are not welcome here. What about Kate Mead of Walsh? Let's talk about the local issues. Let's talk about the issues that are affecting people. What are the issues that are affecting people, and why are the sitting councillors under pressure?
housing and the cost of accommodation to rent is a problem, and
Would Sinn Féin do anything about that?
well, yes, we want to build more local authority housing, and we want to make more housing that's already there available, and we want to cap rents and try and bring them under control, because they're gone totally out of control.
Lee, I'll come in a second.
Yeah.
Michael, you have a big issue with Sinn Féin policies.
Everyone wants to build more houses, and you know, the money has to trickle down through government. It's a far bigger issue than a local thing. As local councillors, what we have to do, we have to look creatively to the guys in the executive who are paid to do and look at these projects, and that's what local councilling is about.
It's an ideological problem
It's not
with the
this-
government.
but
They won't-
there
they
is that.
won't-
But everyone
everything
accepts
has to be
that everyone,
privatised and
accepts that there's a problem
from
with
healthcare,
government,
from
with
healthcare
funding
to
and coming
housing
down. I
has
didn't
to be
speak over
privatised.
you.
Okay,
Pat.
let Lee come in there, Michael.
It's a penalty point. His phone's ringing. You have to ban him from speaking now.
Lee, you come in there, please.
So it was a real education for me when I was out canvassing to see the number of empty housing units that are in my area, especially down in Passage East and places like that, you know. And I think the banks are sitting on a lot of property. So there's something that needs to be done about that, whatever it is. But another issue is I met a couple of landlords who said that they don't want to let out their house on long-term lets anymore because of the regulations that have come in and rent caps and things like that. It's not doing anything to create new housing units. And the HAP scheme also does not do anything to create new housing units. I'm totally in favour of building local authority housing. We've always done that throughout our history. Some people need that. But for example, there was one landlord told me that he's going to just focus on student accommodation and use his house for Airbnb because of the regulations that are involved with long-term letting. So that's a real problem.
What are Fianna Fáil going to do? Adam.
Huge challenges on it as well now. You know, I probably spend 70% of my reps are to do with housing. I'm sure Pat is the same. You know, it's people trying to get HAP assistance or trying to get in. The local authorities need to get back to building houses. I'd agree on that. We need to be the ones providing it in areas. Most importantly, we had one of the biggest issues that's come up on the door for me, and I'm sure the lads have heard it as well. The Paddocks have a development plan there for Williamstown Planning. It's about 324 units. I held about 8 different meetings with different resident associations. No one was against the housing going in. You know, that's important to state for the residents and the constituents in that area. No one was against it. But we as local councillors, if we are going to build that amount of housing, that density of housing, our job is to ensure that the infrastructure is in place, so that the road networks are there, so that the public transport is there. That's why I'm running for your re-election, that if I'm elected, that we can continue to work on those issues, we can continue improving the daily lives of people living in the Waterford City East area.
Okay, somebody has texted in, what about jobs and housing? 44,000 jobs created in 6 years, yet only 6,000 homes built in the past 6 years in the southeast. Another texter, housing because we're filling them with asylum seekers. Well done, Lee. Shame on Damien Tiernan, the biased RTE man. He only reads out selected texts. How liberal. Well, there you go. And there's a person that's texted in 5 times different, same text. So there you go.
I just want to say on jobs, like one thing about jobs is like, you know, if we actually protected our own industries, like fishing, forestry, oil and gas, we shouldn't have to be relying on multinationals. It's great that they're here. But if we had some imagination, we could build...
Why aren't you in a political party? Why aren't you? Because are you going to make much of a
Because I
difference?
don't believe in any of the political parties. It's as simple. If I believed in them, I'd join them.
Independence can make a huge difference to anybody. They're not tied to... And the thing is, if you get the right independents who are clever, creative, proactive, they can make a massive difference. And in things like jobs in the IDA, these people are not serving Waterford properly. I know for the fact that the last group that came down the IDA, they hadn't even heard of the likes of Boxworks. Now, the council have a responsibility to make sure when they know there's visits taking place, they create a task force and a team and insist whoever comes down meets the right people. And that's where Waterford's missing out.
I'll come to you second.
I believe the quality of jobs that we've created in the southeast leave a lot to be desired. I believe that if we're going to bring in...
And if we got a directly elected mayor, that might help, but you're against it.
Well, I didn't say I was totally against it now. No, that's a...
Are you asking people to vote no or yes?
I'm not asking people to vote anyway. I'm asking people to go to the Tower Hotel next
Are you
Wednesday.
sitting on the fence?
No, I'm not sitting on the fence, but I would ask people to go to the Tower Hotel next Wednesday and get themselves educated, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, and it's not up to the councillors to inform people about this. Like the government has actually introduced this, and they should educate the people before they vote and not leave them in a limbo where they don't know what's going on.
Lee Walsh, Mayor, yes or no?
I'll be voting no, because I think it's €500,000 or almost €500,000 for someone to swag around and change.
Adam?
Yeah, look, my job as a councillor as well is to, like I said, is to not sit on the fence and balance the books. We already have shortfalls in the budget every year by about 600 or 700 grand. This is going to cost another 450 grand.
So you're saying no?
The current mayoral system costs over 5 years 150 grand. This will cost the Waterford Council, the Waterford people, 2.4 million over that time.
So what are you saying, yes or no?
I would be in agreement with people having a vote on the directly elected mayor. I would like to see that happen, but this current proposal is ridiculous.
Okay.
I'd also like to point out that
You've had your say. I think the current proposal. I think the current
He should be a
proposal.
radio presenter.
I think the current proposal is wrong and it's ill-advised. And what they should be doing to reform local government is look across the water, give the councillors more
Okay, so you're saying no.
executive powers, and you'll get better.
I'd
councillors.
also like to point out that Waterford City and County Council had only one electrician on duty for the last 3 or 4 months, and one plumber on duty.
Damon,
And we couldn't
No,
get
I can't. I'm
we
sorry,
couldn't get a
gentlemen.
boiler fixed.
We'll have to come back on that.
We couldn't get people's heating running during the winter, and like we should
Pat
look after the
Fitzgerald,
trades
Pat
before
Fitzgerald,
we
Adam
look after
Wyse,
mayors.
Michael Garland, Lee Walsh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Damon. Well done.